Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Marta. I am the admissions coach for the Pharmaceutical Sciences Applied Drug Development Master's and Capstone programs. And today we are joined with Eric Buxton. He is the director, and he will introduce himself in just a little bit, but we will get started. We're going to focus on the program overview today. So the agenda, we will start out with introductions. We'll go over curriculum overview and what you will learn within the program. We will go over career development, tuition and fees, requirements, and the application and next steps. So again, like I said, my name is Marta McCoy. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the admissions coach. And Eric will now introduce himself.
Oh, thanks, Marna. Hi, I'm Eric Buxton, and I am a clinical professor in the School of Pharmacy. I am also a Badger from the Department of Chemistry. I worked in industry for 13 years, and I've been back here at UW-Madison for the past, gosh, it'll be 17 years and 2 weeks. So um, time goes by in a hurry. So I'm happy to join you tonight, and we can talk about the master's program. So jump on to the next slide, please, and we will start going. So yes, the reason you're here tonight is to talk about the ADD curriculum, and this program is now in its seventh year. It started in the fall of 2020, and so it's young but not brand new. And this course was formed by going out and talking to local and regional pharmaceutical companies and asking them, who would you hire? What qualifications for candidates are you most looking for? And if you had two candidates who are basically equal, if candidate B had this, would that give them a leg up over candidate A? And so, working with these pharmaceutical partners, we developed a curriculum of 30 credits. And that 30 credit curriculum has now expanded. So even though the requirement is 30 credits, there are now more than 30 credits to choose from. And so I think that's a win for you as a student coming in year seven because of the fact that we have honed our curriculum over time based on student and industry feedback. So there's more options. And we've also, though, for the courses that were around from the start, we've also made continual improvements to those courses because, as you're well aware, the pharmaceutical industry does not stand still. And so our courses are updated every time they're offered. So we're looking at the core courses. The Skills for Professional Success is a kind of introductory course for you as a professional to talk and interact with both your peers and the instructor and talk about resumes and just professional interactions at work, elevator pitches, and things like that, just to get you into the mindset of being in a professional environment. Because one thing about this master's program is that it is a professional degree, so it's a non-thesis master's. But I think the biggest difference from, say, a more traditional program is that the assessment is not traditional exams. And so you may be remembering your college courses where, you have a midterm and you have a final exam, and it's basically you have to do a lot of perhaps cramming to get ready for these exams, where these courses are built to model what you would be doing in the industry. And so these courses have projects that are longitudinal. I mean, there are quizzes and other ways to check your knowledge besides the projects, but nonetheless, it's not going to be a giant midterm where you're going to have to memorize all the stuff and spit it back out, or a final exam once again. And so it's these are designed because, like I said, this is a professional degree where we expect you to end up in the pharmaceutical industry. And so we are trying to model that not only with our, giving you the curriculum that you need, but also giving you just the type of workflow and things like that, working across the teams, working, like I said, on longitudinal projects. So there's, there's deliverables. So basically, like I said, that professional success course starts getting you in that mindset. And then the drug development process is such a big course that this course used to be one course of 3 credits. And we soon learned that there was just way more than 3 credits worth of material to cover. So you see that it is basically in 2 parts. There is from discovery into the new drug application, IND. And then there's also the investigational new drug application. And then there is the second part, which is basically going from the clinic on. So once this drug is in humans, so the course has been split into two parts because, like I said, there's just so much material to cover. And both of these courses have a lot of guest speakers from industry. So you're hearing from people who are doing this work right now. Uh, and we have a regulatory practice course. So once again, being in the pharma industry, you've probably heard of the FDA. Well, we have veterans from the FDA, but also people who work with the FDA who are teaching this course to give you an overview as to how working with the FDA is when you are working in a pharmaceutical company. There's GXP or good practice. There's good laboratory practice. There's good manufacturing practice. There's good clinical practice. So there's basically lots of different X's in the middle of that GXP. So this course is another course that gives you a very strong insight into how to work in the pharma environment because notebooks have to be very carefully managed, and laboratories. So it's basically giving you the skill set to work in as it says here, a regulated environment. But that's part of working in pharma. Now it also applies to working in the food industry too. It is the Food and Drug Administration. So both of those are very regulated, and both of those have a lot of requirements for our safety. Um, Pharmaceutical economics in project management. And so this is a project management course, as you probably gathered from the end of the name, but it is very much focused and tailored to the pharmaceutical industry as opposed to just being a generic project management course. Our instructor in this course worked in the pharmaceutical industry and she worked in that space. And so she's taken her knowledge from that and also her project management skills and created a course that's very much relevant to this program. Current trends in drug discovery development. This is a literature course, and so this course allows you to take current articles in journals, and you go over these articles, discuss them, and figure out are they good articles, bad articles, what's good about them, where is this leading. So basically, it's giving you the ability to critically think about publications in this space. And once again, as you work in the industry, you're going to have to read about new things and identify the important parts, the least important parts, and also just how credible. Is this something we need to be worried about or not? So basically, this is a for lack of a better term, journal club for the pharmaceutical industry. Like I said, this program has expanded, so our elective courses have gone beyond. We have a lot of courses here. The business skills for pharmaceutical scientists. This is a relatively new course and deals with when you have a startup company or you're interested in taking a drug target to market. This course looks at the decision points and the things you need to think about when you are trying to commercialize a product, commercialize a company, but basically realizing that you have finite resources and you have finite time. And so how do you leverage your data? How do you leverage your timeline such that you have the highest chance of success? So this is uh, a course where it's really in the more in the business space, but nonetheless the instructors are all from the pharmaceutical space. Laboratory and instrumentation methods. This is a hands-on lab course, and so this course is the only course on this list here that you actually have to be in Madison to take. So if you aren't in Madison, that's fine. There is the one below it, the Introduction to Data Analyses and Drug Development, which is it's a data analysis course, but that's online. So the laboratory course is you come into the School of Pharmacy and you do varying hands-on labs over the spring semester. Pharmacology is not obviously, but it's an important aspect of the pharmaceutical industry and how drugs and also how toxicity and things like that. So that's a one credit course taught by an emeritus professor who is a great instructor. The students love him. He's a great guy. Yeah, he's just a real treasure. Case studies in drug development. This is a brand new course, so I can't tell you much about it because it's launching for the first time this fall. But basically looking at real life candidates in the drug development space. Some of them failed, some of them didn't fail. And looking at, why did they succeed or why did they fail? So this course was a strong recommendation from our Industrial Board of Visitors, and so we are excited to offer this course. And also the course below it, Principles of Assay Development. This was another course that was recommended by our Board of Visitors, our Board of Advisors who are from the industry. And so this one credit course is going to give you the tools to work on when you develop an assay. What do you have to think about? What are the things you're trying to do? It has to be reproducible. It has to be reliable. So things like that. So basically, how to develop an assay, because assays are very key for testing pretty much everything when you're in the drug space. Pharmacokinetics. This is a popular course and uses software that allows you to do a lot of hands-on analysis of varying data sets, and very important for how the drugs are absorbed in your body and also what your body does to the drugs. CNS drug designs 1 and 2. So these are basically uh, bookend courses. There's a part 1 and a part 2. And so these are just from our sister program, the psychoactive pharmaceutical investigation, but also relevant for the ADD space as well. Except that obviously in this case, we're looking at the central nervous system as opposed to the whole human body. So this is, if you have an interest in the CNS, this is a set of courses for you. And last but not least is the course I teach, which is the summative fieldwork or internship experience course, which is typically taught in the summer, but could also be taught in the spring, where you actually are working in industry, and we meet weekly and talk about various aspects of working in the industry. So next slide, please. And the capstone is a subset of the master's program. Same courses, same instructors, everything's the same except you're categorized as a special student. And the beauty of the capstone is that if you decide that after a semester or two that you want to go beyond the capstone, those credits count. And so you apply for admission into the master's program, and if you have the appropriate GPA and things like that, qualifications, you immediately are, the next semester you are in the master's program, and those courses you took are just like you had taken them as a master's student. So some people don't need a master's or don't want a master's or they aren't sure. So this is a great way to kind of try it out, and it's still you're getting very useful information. And the other thing about this is that if you had, as an undergraduate, not the best grades, and your grades are much below a 3.0, this is another way for you to prove yourself and start here, and then prove that you can handle the materials, and then we have a very strong case to tell the graduate school, because that 3.0 is a graduate school requirement. And if you're around a 3.0, it's probably not enough problem, but they're having people with like a 2.5 or lower. And the graduate school will sometimes say, no, we don't think that person will succeed here. But we can turn around and say, look, this person succeeded in these courses, and so therefore we are confident they will be a good, master's student. So that's where this capstone can be a on ramp for those of you that may have struggled a bit as an undergraduate. So just something to consider. And as you see here, the core courses are from the other core courses, and the elective courses are a subset of the master's electives. So next slide, please. And so, as I mentioned a couple of slides ago, this is not a traditional master's in the sense where you write a thesis. This is very much a professional master's, and we want you to either start your career, or if you're already working in the pharmaceutical industry, advance your career. But either way, start, advance, or advance. And so it's more than just learning lots and lots of facts, because you can learn lots of facts on the internet. And so what we're trying to give you is more than just a bunch of things that you can throw out at parties as fun party facts, but it's more of the skills in terms of, uh, critical thinking, knowing best practices and ethical principles in working in the pharmaceutical, regulated environments, being comfortable with handling big sets of data and doing data analysis, biostatistics, and basically doing things that are at the professional space that it gives you the confidence and the for lack of a better word, the vocabulary, the toolbox that gives you, because it's this is a 30 credit program, and so you're not going to learn everything because there's no way you can. But what this program does is it gives you a vocabulary, and it gives you the ability to speak with people in different departments depending on where they are, and you can speak intelligently with them because you know the basic concepts, and you also know a basic language that you can speak with them, and so it helps them train you faster because you're already up to speed with a lot of basic concepts that may be foreign to someone who does not have if they have a chemistry or biology background that's just a generic background, they're not going to have the exposure to the GXP. They're not going to have the exposure to the regulatory process and things like that. So this will give you the ability to be trainable faster. And like, on the right here, you see, we hope everyone has a good work ethic, but we do stress it. And integrity, we hope everyone, no matter what job you're doing, you have integrity. But we really stress oral and written communications. You'll do a lot of presentations, oral presentations. You'll do writing. You'll be doing collaborative work with teams because, in this modern world of global companies, you'll be working with people not only like across the hall from you, but you'll be working with people virtually. And so this program being a virtual program or in person, but nonetheless, there are a number of virtual students. You'll be working virtually. And we talk a lot about leadership and whether or not you're a leader with a formal title or you're a leader just because of what you do and how you act makes you respected by your peers and you don't have the official leadership title, but nonetheless you lead by example or by knowledge. So this program is really, like I said here, it's basically giving you skills that aren't necessarily in a textbook. They're skills that you practice with your peers, with your instructors. And so it's more than just, like I said, a lot of things now you can just look up on the internet and sure you can know about them, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can apply them. So what we're doing here with this, in the applied drug development, we're giving you the skills and we're giving you the practice to apply those skills. Next slide, please. And our faculty are a mix of UW School of Pharmacy, traditional faculty, but we also have a large number of our faculty, and I also alluded earlier, we have guest speakers, but we have a large number of adjunct faculty who are currently working in the industry. And so you're not getting 30 years ago's best practices or 10 years ago's best practices. You're getting input from people who are working right now in various aspects of the industry. And you can see here they're, both commercial and academic. And, their credentials are, I mean, a mouthful, a lot of alphabet soup there, but, we have people with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of experience, both, like I said, academic and professional. And we also, some of these courses are offered to our pharmacy students. And so not only are you getting the intersections of diverse expertise from the faculty, but when you're in your classes, you're going to be with your fellow ADD master's students, capstone students, but you'll also be with some PhD students and also PharmD students. And so having all those different student backgrounds gives you a diverse way of looking at things because pharmacy students have a different way of looking at things than you as a master's student and the faculty, like I said, so it's a great way to have multiple perspectives as opposed to a monolith. So next slide, please. And as I mentioned, the summit, the field-based project option is where you get real-world experience. And we have worked over the years to create some partnerships with some local companies. But once again, we have had students around the world. In fact, we had someone in Dubai, Australia. And so companies are not just in the Madison area. And if you're currently working at a pharmaceutical company, you don't have to change jobs. You have to find a relevant project, but you'll have time to do that. And basically, what we want you to do is something different than your day job because we want you to grow professionally. And so if you just did what you were doing, it's really not growth. And so this summer and spring course is a combination of where you're working but you're also then meeting and we're talking about various aspects of being a professional, whether it's disclosures, ethics, looking at inclusion. It's a wide variety of topics that are more of the, for lack of a better word, soft skills but nonetheless very important to being a productive and valued worker. And so this course is I like it, well, in part because I teach it, but also I think and I also like where the students are. We just had our final presentations last week, and just like with every summer, I'm always really amazed at how diverse the projects are. It's just amazing when one student was working on a clinical trial design. for a new drug, and another student was working on improving the workflows at work, and another student had found a 15% way of cutting process at a company that's local, had found, even just starting there, had found a way to save them 15% in their workflow. And she just, she started there this summer. So it's like I said, it's really cool because it's not one job and everyone's doing the same job. It's just it's like a it's a I'm, my mind is blanking, but when you have a prism and you get the whole,
The whole
multiple
spectrum.
spectrum. Thank you. My mind is just like stuck. But yes, you get a spectrum, and because once again, the pharma industry is a spectrum. It's not a monolith, and so our students are not stuck doing one thing. So I think, well, once again, that's good for you, and it's good for me because I'm not bored by listening to the same presentation over and over. But no, it's a great thing. Like I said, last week was really, I really enjoyed that final presentation section. Next slide. And also, when you're an ADD master's student, you are a Badger. So you are getting the support and the infrastructure that all UW-Madison students have. And whether or not you're on campus here in Madison or you live, far, far away, you get access to, our curriculum. We have dedicated instructional designers. We have the courses are relatively, the flow is similar because of our instructional designers. And like I said, we bring our employers in. We have them look at our materials to make sure that what we're teaching is correct and relevant. And we also have a dedicated career not faculty, but industry liaison. And so he will help you with your resume. He will assemble resume books for companies that are looking. There's networking webinars that are regularly held, recruitment events, career development workshops. And so we don't guarantee you a job, but we definitely give you someone here and we give you the tools to help you land that job. Um, and we also have we have two advisors that are here that they're allocated just basically, kind of like that odd even kind of thing. There's not a specific as to who gets which advisor, but we have dedicated really, and they're really dedicated. They're great advisors and they really care and they want you to succeed, and they work, with a career person to give you a specific job search plan to help you, land that job. So if you're looking for a job, like I said, we have a number of students who are currently working and are not looking for a new job, and that's fine too. But a lot of our students are looking for that first job in the pharmaceutical industry. So you get, and not only this in terms of this career support, but you also have access to the UW libraries and the other McBurney Center if you have any kind of issues with test taking or things like that. So there's, like I said, you are a Badger and you are entitled to the full roster or what you want to call it of Madison support for students.
Yeah, those are really great reminders. All right. Well, I will take over. Thank you very much, Eric, for all of that detail. If anyone has any questions as well about any
Oh, one quick
of,
thing I forgot.
oh
It was
yeah,
on the side. I forgot to mention, but basically, it said, this is a program that can be done from 1 to 4 years, and I need to stress that this program is as fast or slow as you want it to be. We've had students complete this in under a year, or basically 1 year. They start in September and end the next August, and that's possible, but it's a lot of work. But we also have students that are doing the 2, 3, and 4 year plan, and that's totally fine too. There's no right or wrong speed. It's the speed that works for you. It could even be 5 years. So it's just basically it's not like you have to be a half-time student or a full-time student. You can register for one course at a time if you want. And so it's a matter of how you make, because we everyone has a life and you have may have children or family and things like that, and you have those things that are very important, and so we don't want you to give those up. And so the other thing also alongside that is that since this is a professional program, the course, when we do have live meetings, they're typically in the evening, because once again these are designed for students. So it's not like the days of undergraduate you have an 8:30 lecture. Nope, your meetings are typically middle of the week around 6 o'clock or so. So later in the day Central Time. But once again, if you have an issue with that, we could also work to make sure that we can accommodate if you have if you're working at that time. But basically, this is a program that's designed to work with you and not make you work with it. Okay, now
yeah.
I'll stop talking.
No, that is totally fine. Thank you. Yeah, this is a program that is flexible for working professionals. We cannot stress that enough. So you can either choose between the masters, like we went over, or the capstone. So the masters here, again, 10 to 11 courses, 30 credits. The capstone is going to be 5 to 6 courses and 12 credits. The price per credit is the same across the board for in-state and out-of-state students. It is 1,500 per credit. So the total costs are there on the screen. And one of the differences is that internship or workplace project option that is only for the master's program. So if you're interested in that, definitely aim for that master's. So for application deadlines that are coming up, if you are interested in spring of 2027, the deadline to apply is August 31st. If you are wanting fall of 2027, the application actually will not be open until September. And I can also send you some information and reminders when that application is open. You can go to grad.wisc.edu/apply and select the Applied Drug Development Master's program. The materials that you'll need are unofficial transcripts, a statement of purpose, which is the essay component of the application. You've got your CV or resume, does not matter which one you provide. 2 letters of recommendation. So those can be from current supervisors, directors, anyone who knows you and your skill set within the workplace. If you are within a few years of graduating, like up to 5 years of your bachelor's program or a different master's program, then we would like to see some uh, program manager or your advisor or a professor from any of those programs. But if you can't, 2 letters of recommendation from your current employer or colleagues are really great. English proficiency test scores, if they are applicable. And then the final thing for the application is going to be a Cura talent interview, which is basically like a brief interview, video interview, knowing or asking you questions about you, what your plans are within the program, and why you're a good fit for this program. And that is actually not needed for the capstone. So the differences between the capstone certificate application, you would go to acsss.wisc.edu/apply on the screen there. The deadline is different. So spring 2027, that deadline is September 30th. If you're looking for fall 2027, then it's going to be next May. But the materials that you'll need for this, again, unofficial transcripts, a short essay. This one is going to be 500 words or less. The other one, the statement of purpose for the master's program is about 1,000 words. And I can always touch base with you for more details about either the statement of purpose or the essay. Again, a CV or resume is needed, and then English proficiency test scores. You do not need to provide reference or recommendation letters with this or do that Cura talent assessment. So your next steps, connect with me. Send me an email. You can schedule a chat with me, and I'm happy to review your application materials, especially like your statement of purpose or your resume, just to make sure that you are along the lines of a strong application. Those application deadlines, again, those are on the screen.